The murmur of 1,000 voices swelled within the hallowed confines of Archimedes Hall, a majestic testament to academia's long and winding path. Sunlight, fractured by stained glass windows, painted intricate patterns across the polished oak, illuminating a sea of eager faces, graduates on the cusp of a new beginning, parents brimming with pride. For most, this was a day of unblemished joy, a fleeting moment of triumph, but for Dr. Thorne, a quiet dignity cloaked a subtle tension, a flicker in her eyes that hinted at a depth few could fathom. She wasn't merely a proud mother. She was Dr. Aris Thorne, renowned astrophysicist, a mind that danced with the cosmos, unraveling the universe's most profound secrets. Yet today, she was here for one singular, sacred purpose: to witness her son, Marcus, walk across that stage and claim his future. Marcus, a diligent scholar, stood among his peers, a beacon of quiet accomplishment. He was his mother's world, and she, his unwavering star. Their bond was a silent testament to respect, resilience, and an unspoken understanding that transcended the everyday. A shadow, however, began to creep into the periphery of this perfect day. Jax and Rylan, two figures in ill-fitting security uniforms, patrolled the aisles with an almost comical zeal. Jax, a hulking man whose uniform stretched taut across his shoulders, moved with an air of self-importance, his gaze sweeping over the crowd with a practiced disdain. Rylan, his smarmy counterpart, had a way of speaking that dripped with condescension, a smirk perpetually plastered on his face. They were minor potentates in their own minds, wielding their badges like scepters, eager to assert their meager authority. Earlier, Aris had seen them bark at an elderly couple for leaning against a pillar, then smugly confiscate a child's helium balloon, citing a non-existent fire hazard. Petty power, meticulously exercised. Lost in a moment of quiet reflection, her eyes fixed on the stage where Marcus would soon appear. Dr. Thorne inadvertently drifted a few inches too close to a velvet rope that marked a restricted aisle. Her graduation ticket, tucked securely in her coat pocket, wasn't immediately visible. It was a minuscule oversight, easily corrected with a polite word. The politeness wasn't in Jax and Rylan's repertoire. "Ma'am, step back," Jax's voice boomed, cutting through the gentle hum of the hall, startling those nearby. Aris turned, a polite inquiry forming on her lips, but Rylan was already stepping forward, his smirk widening. "Can't you read the signs, lady? Or is comprehension not your strong suit?" he sneered. Gesturing dramatically at the rope, Aris, ever composed, attempted to explain. "My apologies. I was momentarily distracted. I assure you, I have my ticket, and I mean no disruption." She began to reach for it, a gesture of compliance. "Doesn't matter now," Jax interjected, stepping closer, his bulk casting a menacing shadow. "You're already causing a disturbance. And frankly, you don't look like you belong in this section anyway." The implication hung heavy in the air, thick with unspoken prejudice. Marcus, from his seat in the graduating class, felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He saw his mother, poised and elegant, being needlessly badgered. He wanted to leap to her defense, but years of his mother's calm, logical counsel held him in check. "Don't escalate, Marcus, think. I simply made a small error," Aris stated, her voice calm despite the rising tension. "There's no need for this aggression." Rylan scoffed, exchanging a look with Jax. "We're just enforcing the rules, Mum. Rules you clearly think you're above. People like you always do." The words were a calculated jab, and they landed with an unpleasant thud. The whispers around them grew louder. Some faces turned away, embarrassed by the spectacle. Others stared, morbidly curious. The air in Archimedes Hall, once vibrant with hope, now crackled with escalating animosity. "I need you to step away from the rope and return to your designated seating area, immediately," Jax commanded, his voice edged with menace, his hand hovering near Aris's arm. Aris met his gaze, her dark eyes unwavering. "I will move, but not under duress or false accusations." "False accusations?" Rylan guffawed. "You're being a nuisance, plain and simple. And quite frankly, you're ruining the ceremony for everyone." He stepped forward, putting his face uncomfortably close to hers. "We're going to have to ask you to leave now." The demand hung in the air, a public shaming, an audacious challenge to her dignity. Dr. Thorne, a woman who charted constellations and pondered the very fabric of existence, was being told to leave her son's graduation by two arrogant, prejudiced guards. Marcus watched, paralyzed by a sickening mix of rage and helplessness. As the world seemed to tilt on its axis, the humiliation deepened, a raw wound festering in the heart of what should have been a moment of unadulterated joy. Jax's hand, thick and unforgiving, closed round Dr. Thorne's elbow. "Let's go, lady. You're done here." Rylan, relishing the scene, added, Save everyone the trouble, Professor. Or is it teacher? Either way, you're not special. The subtle disdain in his voice was unmistakable, a thinly veiled jibe at her race and profession. The whispers intensified, a ripple of discomfort spreading through the crowd. Some onlookers averted their gaze, ashamed to be complicit in silence. Others leaned forward, drawn by the escalating drama. Marcus, a surge of adrenaline coursing through him, pushed to stand, his heart hammering against his ribs. No, not my mother. Just as Jax began to pull, Aris's eyes, still fixed on the guard's face, subtly shifted. Her right hand, held loosely at her side, moved in a precise, almost imperceptible gesture, a sequence of 3 taps against her thigh, a rhythm of 4. And then, so quietly that only a ghost could have heard it, she whispered a single word. Crisp and clear, Spectre. Thousands of miles away in a secure, unassuming office overlooking the Potomac, Admiral Bethany Blade Kincaid sat before a bank of monitors, a half-finished cup of black coffee cooling beside a stack of encrypted reports. The room was Spartan, functional, adorned only with a faded black and white photograph of a younger Kincaid. Her gaze as sharp and unwavering then as it was now, alongside a familiar, smiling Dr. Reese Thorne. They were standing shoulder to shoulder, not in academic regalia, but in tactical gear, dirt-streaked and determined. Suddenly, a discreet chime sounded from a small, hardened device on her desk. It was an old frequency, one she hadn't heard in years, reserved for only the most critical, prearranged contingencies. The signal was unique, a specific sequence of pings that only a handful of people on the planet knew, and only one would ever initiate. The Thorne Protocol. Kincaid's features, usually a mask of stoic professionalism, tightened imperceptibly. Her mind, a finely honed weapon, immediately began to process the implications. Aris, the graduation. Something had gone profoundly wrong. Echo, patch me through, she barked into her comms, her voice cutting through the quiet like a precisely thrown knife. Across the globe, in various states of civilian normalcy, the specters stirred. Ghost Ramirez, a former reconnaissance expert now running a quiet, high-end security consultancy, was mid-briefing with a client when his smart ring vibrated with a unique pattern. He subtly excused himself. His client left mid-sentence, bewildered. Ghost's eyes, usually watchful, became instantly predatory. Echo Chen, a cybersecurity wizard whose code protected national secrets, was debugging a complex firewall. Her secondary screen, usually a kaleidoscope of data streams, flashed a single urgent alert. Her fingers, nimble and precise, danced across the keyboard, routing the incoming signal. Her expression grim. Phantom Du Bois, a strategic planner turned renowned architect, was reviewing blueprints for a new skyscraper. His phone, which rarely rang, displayed a single, encrypted message. He nodded slowly, his calm demeanor masking a rapidly forming tactical plan. Wraith Malley, a master of negotiation and persuasion, now a highly successful corporate mediator, was in the middle of closing a multi-million-dollar deal. His earpiece, designed for discreet communications, buzzed with a specific frequency. Apologies, he stated, cutting off a lawyer mid-objection. A prior engagement has just become priority 1. Shadow Singh, whose imposing presence now graced the halls of a philanthropic organization, was overseeing a charity event. His personal communicator, usually silent, activated. He simply nodded, his powerful frame tensing, a quiet intensity returning to his eyes. Viper Vega, whose quick wit and even quicker reflexes had saved lives, was enjoying a rare quiet afternoon on a golf course. His watch vibrated with the coded alert. He sighed, a half-amused, half-resigned grin spreading across his face. Looks like Par's going to have to wait, he muttered, abandoning his putter. Scout Jenkins, the quiet observer, now a wilderness guide, was deep in the backcountry. His satellite phone, set to a specific frequency, chimed. He pulled it out, saw the signal, and without a word, began to pack his minimal gear. His movements efficient and purposeful. Within minutes, Kincaid was on a secure video conference with the assembled specters. Her face, projected onto multiple screens, was grim. East Thorne, Archimedes Hall, university graduation, protocol triggered, unconfirmed details, but Spectre signal initiated. I want eyes on, intel gathered, and a full team ready for intervention. Immediate, non-lethal unless absolutely necessary. This is priority Alpha. Move. Outside Archimedes Hall, the sunlight, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a spotlight on Dr. Thorne's manufactured disgrace. Jax and Rylan, flushed with their perceived victory, were now dragging her toward the main entrance, aiming for more public expulsion. They sought not merely her removal, but her absolute humiliation. Let's make sure everyone sees a troublemaker being dealt with, Rylan sneered. pushing her slightly harder. His grip was tight, bordering on painful. Aris, however, was not panicking. Her mind, honed by years of critical thinking under duress, raced. Every second bought was a second closer to her unseen safety net. "Wait," she said, her voice strained but clear. "My bag. I left my son's graduation gift inside. I need to retrieve it." She feigned a moment of faltering, leaning slightly against Jax, a calculated move to break his rhythm and draw a breath. "Oh, no you don't," Jax grunted, trying to pull her more forcefully. "You'll get nothing. You're done here. It's a family heirloom," Aris persisted, injecting a touch of desperation into her voice. "Please. It means everything to him." She glanced pointedly at a small, ornate pocket watch peeking from her open purse, which had almost fallen when Jax grabbed her. This was enough to buy her precious seconds, as Ryland's eyes, ever opportunistic, fixated on the glimmer of gold dot from their hidden perches. The specters watched, their senses heightened, their communication channels buzzing with hushed, efficient updates. Ghost confirms to security cameras at the main entrance, blind spot to the southwest. "Exactly where she's heading," Echo's voice whispered in Kincaid's ear. "Phantom, confirm approach vector for extraction if needed," Kincaid responded, her eyes glued to a live feed, showing Aris's subtle tactics. "Confirmed, Admiral. We have a clear path to the service tunnel if they move her to the side," Phantom replied, his voice calm, methodical. "Wraith, prepare for public diversion, non-violent, high-impact." Kincaid ordered. Jax and Ryland, bloated with their petty authority, decided to make a grander example. They dragged Aris towards the university's main plaza, a wide-open space where families were now gathering after the initial ceremony. Their voices grew louder, their accusations more explicit. This woman was disturbing the peace, Jax declared loudly. For anyone within earshot refused to comply, Ryland added, his voice dripping with false indignation. "Thinks she's above the rules. We've seen her type before. Always causing problems." The last remark was accompanied by a pointed, lingering stare, unmistakably laced with racial prejudice. He then reached out, his hand wrapping roughly around her arm, his grip tightening until her fingers whitened. "Now move it," he hissed. This was the line, the precise moment of crossing. This was the trigger. Shadow, a blur of controlled power, emerged from a cluster of nearby bushes with almost supernatural speed. Not at the guards. Not yet. Instead, he moved directly towards a decorative fountain, positioned perfectly to the side of the unfolding drama. With a single, powerful kick, precisely aimed at a loose stone near its base, he struck a weak point. K-chunk. A cascade of water erupted from the fountain, not a gentle spray, but a geyser, arcing high into the air, momentarily drenching a group of nearby onlookers who gasped in surprise. Simultaneously, a sharp, metallic clang echoed across the plaza, as a trash bin, seemingly nudged by the wind, toppled over, scattering its contents. The sudden, chaotic disruption drew every eye away from Dr. Thorne and her tormentors. Jax and Ryland, caught off guard, instinctively spun around, their grip on Aris momentarily slackening. "What the?" Jax sputtered, his arrogance cracking as confusion clouded his face. Ryland's head swiveled wildly, trying to pinpoint the source of the unexpected chaos. Their control over the situation, their carefully constructed facade of authority, shattered. In that fleeting moment of disorientation, a figure emerged from the shifting crowd, moving with an almost predatory grace. She was dressed in a sharp, dark suit that seemed to cut through the light, her silver hair pulled back in a severe, no-nonsense bun. Her presence was commanding, her posture ramrod straight, and her eyes, the color of tempered steel, fixed directly on Jax and Ryland. Admiral Bethany Blade Kincaid, the Spectre's formidable leader, stepped forward, her voice calm but resonating with an undeniable authority that instantly silenced the surrounding murmurs. "Is there a problem here, gentlemen?" she asked, her gaze unwavering, her tone utterly devoid of emotion. Her hands, however, were clasped loosely behind her back, a subtle indication of readiness. The specters, unseen but ever present, were now subtly positioned around the plaza, ready to strike. The stage was set. Jax and Ryland, still reeling from the sudden, inexplicable chaos around them, turned their startled gazes to Admiral Kincaid. Their arrogance, though shaken, was not yet fully extinguished. They sized her up, seeing a woman of authority, perhaps, but certainly not someone who could challenge their dominion. "Problem," Jax finally grunted, trying to puff out his chest. "No problem, ma'am. Just dealing with it. Disruptive element. This woman was causing a scene." He gestured dismissively at Dr. Thorne, who now stood slightly behind Kincaid, her composure slowly but surely returning, a quiet fire rekindled in her eyes. "Disruptive." Kincaid's voice was low, almost conversational, yet it held the weight of an unseen gavel. I observed the entire interaction, gentlemen. Your conduct was, shall we say, less than professional. May I have your names and identification? Please, Rylan, ever the smarmy one, recovered first. He chuckled, a thin, humorless sound. And who are you to be asking for our IDs, lady? We're university security. We don't answer to every busybody who sticks her nose in where it doesn't belong. As Kincaid engaged the guards, the specters moved with silent precision, an orchestrated ballet of control. Ghosts and shadows subtly shifted, forming an almost imperceptible barrier, gently steering curious onlookers away from the immediate vicinity. Wraith, with his easy charm, began engaging a group of students recording on their phones, deftly distracting them and subtly guiding them to delete footage of the guards' belligerence, replacing it with an exaggerated account of the fountain incident. Viper positioned himself to intercept any other university staff who might intervene. Ready with a plausible, disarming explanation, Echo, from a hidden vantage point, was already monitoring the university's internal communication channels. Admiral, I'm detecting a security supervisor's call about the fountain incident. They're en route, but I've delayed their comms for another 90 seconds. Plenty of time. Kincaid's gaze sharpened, her eyes piercing through Ryland's bluster. My identity, MR. She paused, allowing the silence to hang, a subtle demand for his name. My identity is irrelevant. What is relevant is the well-being of a highly valued individual whom you have publicly harassed, slandered, and physically accosted. Now, I will ask one last time, your names and badge numbers. Jax, sensing a shift in the air, tried a different tack. Look, we were just doing our jobs. This woman, he pointed at Aris, she wasn't cooperating. And we got regulations to uphold. Regulations. Kincaid's eyebrow arched imperceptibly. Regulations that permit verbal abuse, racial slurs, and physical intimidation. Funny, I don't recall those being standard operating procedure for university security. Even in this institution. Ryland's eyes widened fractionally. Racist slurs. What are you talking about? We didn't say anything like that. He sputtered, his face flushing. Oh, but you did, Kincaid corrected, her voice chillingly calm. I have a full transcript and visual confirmation of your aggressive actions towards Dr. Thorne. She paused, allowing the word Dr. Thorne to sink in, a subtle re-establishment of Aris' status. Just then, a small, almost invisible light on Kincaid's lapel flashed. This was Echo's signal. Echo confirms audio and visual evidence captured. Admiral, clear as day. Kincaid extended her hand, and from the inner pocket of her suit, she produced a slim, black leather wallet. She flipped it open, revealing an official identification card. Jax and Ryland, still blustering, peered closer, their eyes widening in disbelief. It wasn't a university ID. It wasn't local law enforcement. The crest emblazoned on the card was unfamiliar to them, yet it exuded an undeniable aura of federal authority. Below it, Kincaid's photo, and then in bold, unmistakable letters, Admiral Bethany Kincaid, Special Operations Liaison, Department of Defense. The color drained from Jax and Ryland's faces. Their arrogance crumbled, replaced by a dawning, sickening dread. They had been strutting around like kings, and now they were staring into the eyes of a true queen. Now, gentlemen, Kincaid continued, her voice gaining an edge of steel. Let me make this perfectly clear. Dr. Reese Thorne is not merely a university professor. She is a highly decorated and valuable asset to a classified national security program. Her contributions to our nation's defense are immeasurable. Harassing her, especially under these circumstances, has triggered a level 3 protective protocol. She paused, allowing the magnitude of her words to settle. Jax and Ryland stared, mouths agape, their minds struggling to comprehend the sudden, terrifying shift in reality. A physics teacher, an astrophysicist. This dignified black woman they had dismissed as trouble and not belonging was a vital national asset. The public apprehension of Jax and Ryland was swift, clinical, and utterly humiliating. Within minutes of Admiral Kincaid's revelation, two stern-faced individuals in dark suits materialized seemingly out of thin air, presenting their own federal credentials to the now paralyzed university security. The guards, stripped of their badges and their dignity, were led away, their earlier bluster replaced by a pathetic whimper. Kincaid ensured that every detail of their misconduct, the verbal abuse, the racial remarks, the physical contact, was meticulously documented. Calls were placed, not just to local law enforcement, but to an internal affairs division that specialized in public sector misconduct. The consequences would be severe and immediate. Before long, a visibly distraught Dean Peterson, the highest-ranking university official on campus, arrived, practically jogging across the plaza, flanked by two equally agitated aides. His face, usually composed, was etched with a mixture of horror and profound embarrassment. He had been briefed by Kincaid's team, the full, unvarnished truth. "Admiral Kincaid, Dr. Thorne." The dean stammered, bowing his head slightly, an unusual gesture of deference. "My profound apologies. On behalf of the entire university, I am absolutely mortified. These individuals, their actions are an egregious violation of our values, our protocols, everything we stand for. They will be terminated immediately, and a full internal investigation will be launched into how this lapse in judgment occurred. There will be no stone unturned." He looked at Dr. Thorne, his eyes filled with genuine regret. "Dr. Thorne, we are truly sorry for the distress and humiliation you endured on what should have been a day of celebration." Aris, her initial shock now replaced by a quiet sense of vindication, simply nodded. "Thank you, Dean Peterson. I appreciate your swift response." Her voice was calm, clear, and utterly dignified. Marcus, having witnessed the entire extraordinary sequence of events, rushed to his mother, his face a mixture of awe, relief, and a bewildered pride. He wrapped his arms around her, a silent promise to protect her from any future indignity. "Mom," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. What was all that, Admiral?" "National security." Aris looked at her son, a soft, loving smile gracing her lips. "Later, my love. For now, let's just enjoy your day." But her gaze shifted to Kincaid, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Kincaid, seeing Marcus's questioning eyes, decided a partial truth was warranted. She spoke in a low voice, audible only to the dean, Marcus, and Dr. Thorne. "Dean Peterson, Marcus, what you witnessed today was the activation of a highly specialized protective detail for Dr. Thorne. Her work, while primarily academic now, has been, and continues to be, of immense strategic importance to the Department of Defense." Dr. Thorne, she wasn't just observing the stars. She was charting routes through them, developing advanced propulsion theories, and leading initiatives that, to this day, remain deeply classified. The Spectres were her personal protective detail during critical phases of her work, and their loyalty, as you've seen, is absolute. Marcus's jaw dropped. His mother, the quiet astrophysicist, the woman who patiently explained quantum mechanics over breakfast, had been at the forefront of national defense. A figure so vital she commanded the loyalty of an elite SEAL team? It was a staggering revelation, reshaping his understanding of her, not diminishing her academic brilliance, but adding an entirely new, awe-inspiring dimension. The incident resonated beyond the immediate moment. It was a stark reminder that true strength often lies hidden beneath an unassuming exterior. The prejudice and petty tyranny of the guards had not only backfired spectacularly, but had also exposed a profound truth. Judgment based on superficial appearances is not just foolish, but profoundly dangerous. The university's swift, unequivocal apology and action underscore the vital importance of accountability, of rooting out bias and upholding integrity. Later, as the graduation ceremony resumed, now with a palpable sense of renewed, albeit subdued, excitement, Dr. Thorne and Admiral Kincaid shared a private moment away from the crowd. "Thank you, Bethany," Aris said, her voice soft, her eyes warm. "You always were precise." Kincaid offered a rare, slight smile. "You know the protocol, Aris. Some bonds aren't broken by retirement or cover stories, and some threats, no matter how small they seem, can't be tolerated." She nodded towards Marcus, who, despite the morning's drama, was beaming as he walked to the stage. "He looks exactly like you did back then, proud, determined." "He is my greatest achievement," Aris replied, her gaze full of love. "And yours, Aris, our legion," Kincaid affirmed. Their connection was profound, forged in the crucible of shared dangers and unwavering trust. The Spectres, having completed their mission, had already melted back into the shadows unseen, leaving no trace but the lingering sense of a powerful force having passed through. Justice had been served, dignity restored, and a silent vigil maintained. The fallout for Jax and Ryland was swift and comprehensive. Fired from their positions, they faced potential legal repercussions for assault and verbal harassment, a fate sealed by the undeniable evidence gathered by Echo and the Spectres. The university, stung by the public exposure and the profound breach of trust, launched a sweeping review of its security department, implementing mandatory bias training and an independent oversight committee. It was a painful, necessary reckoning, and a testament to the power of one woman's dignity, defended by an unexpected force. Marcus Thorne, diploma clutched firmly in hand, walked off the stage with a new light in his eyes. The morning's events had been a shock, yes, but more profoundly, they had been an awakening. His mother, the brilliant astrophysicist, was also a woman of incredible courage and hidden depth, a figure connected to a world of national secrets and unwavering loyalty. He saw her not just as his parent, but as a silent hero, a quiet force. As he found her in the jubilant crowd, their eyes met, and a knowing, proud smile passed between them. He understood now that her unassuming demeanor was not a sign of weakness, but a well-earned tranquility, a calm surface over an ocean of formidable experience. The specters, true to their name, disappeared as seamlessly as they had arrived. No fanfare, no public acknowledgement, just a job done, an asset protected, a bond reaffirmed. They were the unseen protectors, a network of loyalty that transcended the bounds of their former military service. Their purpose was singular: to ensure that the Thorne Protocol remained an unyielding guarantee of safety for those who had sacrificed so much in service to their country. Dr. Reese Thorne returned to her life, to her research, to her quiet pursuit of cosmic truths, but she walked with a renewed sense of confidence, her quiet dignity now underscored by the knowledge that unseen eyes stood vigilant. Her public humiliation had transformed into a powerful demonstration of hidden strength, a quiet victory against prejudice and petty abuse of power. The world was indeed full of hidden heroes, and sometimes the most extraordinary among them lived the most unassuming lives. Never underestimate the quiet ones, for beneath a calm exterior, there often lies a reservoir of strength, an unparalleled expertise, and a network of loyalty ready to rise to the occasion. Prejudice and arrogance often lead to the most profound of misjudgments, and true justice sometimes comes from the most unexpected of places. Call to action: if this story of hidden heroes and unexpected justice resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible true stories, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think was the true hero in this situation?